Hello. I was so engrossed with weaving my skep that I almost missed. I was almost late. So, have you had a good weekend? I hope that you've been able to work a bit on your skeps. We had some horrible weather and then we had some lovely weather, so it was a good mixture. But perhaps you've got a room in your house where you're able to stitch away regardless of the weather, or a nice shed or a garage, just somewhere where you can work on your skeps whenever you take the fancy. So I've been weaving away so that I can get to the stage where I can show you how to finish off. So this is the third session, the final in the challenge. I know some of you didn't receive your kits until the weekend, or even there was still some ordering over the weekend, so they're not going to get them till tomorrow. So many of you will be watching this on the replay. I'm going to lower this down, so rather than see me, you can then see what I'm doing. So over the past two sessions, I've shown you how to get started, how to make a little starter circle like one of these. So hopefully you've all made one of these, and please don't be shy. I'd love to see pictures. Do take pictures as you're working through, because it will be lovely for everyone else to see how you're getting on, how you're finding it. So it's not just seeing what I've done. I saw Randy had posted her starter, and I was so excited because she'd actually did hers following the replay of the first session. And it's always encouraging when somebody can actually do something from watching a video. And so I was really, really impressed with that. And everything Randy does is about love, and so it was no coincidence that hers was actually a heart shape. So how gorgeous is that? And then I've also seen pictures of Linda's. So if any of you have pictures, I've had them sent to me from email and in different Facebook groups, so do put them up in this group so that everyone else in the group, everyone else who's doing this challenge, can actually see what you're doing. Now, I have mentioned before that I am cat-handed rather than left or right-handed, and this little skep here is a perfect example, because I started turning it, curving it towards me instead of away. And so by curving it towards me, it means that I'm having to put my fid in from the inside, which is okay. It means it sits on my lap while I'm stitching, so that's okay. So I'm just keeping this moist. But if you're working on a larger one that's round a former, so for instance, if you're doing a specific shape, like when I make a sun hive, then it's important to curve it, do the curve away from you. So this is all things that you pick up with practice. So I'm just making a mini one so you can see it's curved. Now here's a good tip. This can look a bit shaggy, but all you need to do, and you could wait till the end to do this, is just get some scissors and snip off anything that's sticking out, and then that can tidy it up. Now it's going to be tidier if you're more regular with putting in your new pieces of straw. You see, and also where I get angles like that, that's where I've put a big clump of an extra bunch of straw in, instead of doing them one or two pieces each stitch. Fluff fluffy bits. And you see, just by going around with the scissors, you can tidy it up, make it look a bit neater. So this is just a quick one so that I can show you how to finish off. Now, there's lots of extra things you can do. Now, this is really, really rigid. I might even try and stand on it in a minute when I've finished it and see how we go. But there's lots of techniques on how to make it neater. So you can see my stitches are running in rows, which is quite nice, quite neat. But you may want to make a little window, an entrance for the bees. And that's the kind of thing I show you on the course. So after the webinar, I'll be opening the doors for my online course. So those of you who've enjoyed doing this or have just thought, oh, I need a bit more help than that, then my course starts on the 24th of November. It will all be recorded. So there's lots of videos, and also there are sheets or documents, worksheets that you can print off with instructions. So if you learn better from reading the instructions, you get that as well. And then you get lifetime access. But I'll be showing you all the tips, how to make, you know, perfect your skill or make them to specific requirements. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to finish. Now, when you're really stitching away, you've got a lot of straw there, but when you want to come to an end, you're going to start reducing it. So instead of putting 3 or 4, just put the odd one in, 1 or 2, because you want to end it gradually. You don't want to end it in one great big lump, because then the base of your skep won't be flat. It will suddenly have a ridge. So it's important that you do still keep adding your straw, and make sure that when you're pulling your lapping cane, you're pulling it nice and tight. And every now and again, go back through the last couple of stitches and just ease them around. You'll see if they've gone a bit loose, you can ease it round. That's quite straightforward to do. And keep an eye on the shape, so you can be molding it. It's a lot easier if it's damp. You can slide the stitches one way or another if it is getting a bit angular. So that's something you can do. Okay, so just adding a few more bits of straw. And I'm very excited because on the webinar on Wednesday, not only am I going to announce the winners, and it would be nice if the winners have actually posted in the group so everyone else can see why they've won. And I've got Chris Park, the wonderful Chris Park, who is, in my mind, a skep weaving master. He lives near Swindon, and he keeps his bees in skep. So he's been written about and interviewed a lot over the years. And he does a lot of courses and demonstrations for Bees for Development. And I first met him at the National Honey Show, where he was demonstrating with the Beekeeping History Society. And so just keep it moist. And it's wonderful that somebody, their actual profession is a skep maker, skep beekeeper. And he has got so much wisdom and knowledge. He's very experienced with working with bees and in a natural way, working with nature. So we'll learn a lot. So have a think. If you've got any questions, you can search him on the internet and find out a little bit more about him. So on the webinar, I'll be interviewing him, And I'll also be sharing some stories about skeps, a bit about the history of skeps and skep making, and then talking about why they're important now. Why are they making a comeback at this time? What is it about skeps that we can learn now? So there we go, making my little skeps. You can see the straw, it's not filling up my napkin ring. So it's that napkin ring is going to get looser and looser as I put fewer and fewer pieces in. Now what always happens is you need to change your lapping cane when you get near the end. Just when you think you've got enough, you suddenly have to change it. So this is quite a long piece. So what I'm going to do is thread. So this is another way of showing you again. I'll show you again how to change your lapping cane. So the new one, you thread through the same stitch as the last one and pull it almost all the way through, trying to keep it from twisting. This is where it gets tricky. If you've got a long piece, it's more likely to get caught up. But it's amazing how quickly we use them up. Right, so then with your new piece, I'm going to follow the last stitch, hold it with my thumb, and then twist it through. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Push it back through the last stitch. Keeping my thumb on it there stops it pulling right through. And then this is where it helps if it's a bit damp, because then you can press it down and then put that along there. And then it will get included in the next stitch. So in with the fid. So now the next stitch. And I think the changing of the lapping cane is one of the hardest things. But it's normally just a lack of confidence. It's feeling that there's some special magic way of doing it, that you have to do it. And there isn't. Everybody finds their own little way. And you'll get into a routine. And it's quite good. The more you do it, the more confident you get. And again, you'll learn. You'll learn that sometimes you've not done it quite right. And so then it's come undone. So now I've done my next new stitch. I'm going to put a couple of bits of straw in so I don't forget. I've got 3 or 4 there. And always tucking them into the middle, because then they're less likely to stick out. They'll get joined in. Okay. So I've got the old lapping cane sticking out there. So what I'm going to do now is put that to the new stitch, tuck it through like that, and again press it flat and then push it back on itself, and I'll thread it back the other way. This is where if your stitches are too tight, it gets a bit tricky, but there we go. You can just push it and then that will come through. So pushing it through, and then it's nice and secure. That's not going to come undone. There we go. And I can always just snip off that end. Tidy those bits up as well. There we go. And then I'm free to carry on. So long piece of lapping cane. But hopefully this will be long enough that I won't need to change it again before the end of this skep. Now, there are ways of making sure you have a really flat bottom to your skep. And there's also ways that you can do an entrance at the bottom. But these are all the sort of things I'll show on the course. But the purpose of this challenge is just to get you started to make a basic skep. And if you're using your skep and you haven't got an entrance, well, if you've got a hole at the top, then that can work as an entrance. But also, if you're using it for catching a swarm, what I tend to do is I prop up the skep, I block the entrances, and I just prop it up on a tablecloth with a stone or any kind of tools I've got to hand, so that the bees, so it's propped up just a bit, so then the bees can just crawl in that way. And then when you come to collect the skep, you can wrap the sheet around and the bees all snug inside. So do comment if you've got any questions as I'm going along. But hopefully this is just quite meditative, just watching me weave away. Next stitch. So the rhythm is you put your fid in, you thread through. Oh, okay, it's trying to get twisted. This is what happens when you have too long a piece of cane. You can see how it's twisting. So I want to try and stop that. But actually, when you pull it through, it will untwist. And then when you've got your stitch through, I'm just going to put 2 bits in now. Remembering these have 2 ends. You have the end with the seeds on, which you can just cut off, and then you have a thicker end, which is a bit more rigid. So put it in with the thicker end, trying to get it into the middle of the bundle, so all the other bits of straw hold it in snug. And then next stitch, so put the fid in, and again my fid's going at a straight across angle now because I just want to end my skep. I'm not doing any more curving, I'm just keeping it flat. To make sure it's not too twisted. There we go. And so now I'll just add 1, but I'll use quite a thick one this time. Put that in the middle. So I'm keeping a staggered length at the end, so it's going to a point. It's not all going to end in one go. That's what's really important here. So next stitch. So skep making is an ideal time to catch up, listening to the radio, listening to music, audio books. Or you could use it as a time of meditation. I'm getting quite twisted up here. There we go. I've got a very twisted piece of cane. It's twisted right where I'm doing my stitches now, which is annoying. I'll just try and untwist it a bit. Yeah. fact, what I am going to do is I'm going to cut a bit of the length off. So I may have to add more. Right. So fid in, do a stitch. There we go, that's much easier. Just one piece of wheat in. And you can feel it when it goes in, it's going right down into the other stitches, and that means it's nice and secure, so it's less likely to just fall out. So now put the fid in. So what you're trying to do here is just reduce the straw gradually so that you have a very gradual end. Again, trying not to have it too twisted. So just put one more in. Again, threading it through the middle so it's held in by the previous stitches. And then you can start putting a bit of straw in every other stitch, so you are reducing it gradually. Just one more. And as it gets thinner, you no longer need the guide. And you can be squishing the straw a bit flatter now. So still checking that your stitches are nice and tight and that you've got a good shape. So of course I am going to have to add more. It does speed up the stitching when you have a shorter piece of cane, but then you've got more times you've got to add a new piece. So here we go. What I'll do is I'll add the bit from before. So again, you thread it right the way through. And then with the new piece, I go across the back, the last stitch, tucking it backwards, pressing it flat, and then folding it towards the front. That keeps it nice and tight. And then with your new cane, you can do the next stitch. And actually, before I pull it tight, I want to make sure that my new one is tucked underneath that new stitch and my old one is tucked the other way. So it's going to go that way. Pull that tight and then fold it back so it goes back through the previous stitches, and then that holds that in nice and tight. squirt, so if it's damp it'll hold a bit more. So I'm just going to put one piece of straw in, and I'll actually take off the guide now because we're nearly done. And what you can do is you can put your stitches a bit deeper onto the layer below. So to explain that, as I'm stitching, you can see that's my 2 stitches. So this one will go in here. Now, as this gets thinner, I can go deeper. If I'm building it up, I'd go quite high so that I'm building up each strip. So you can see it's quite near the top of the previous bundle. But when you get near the end, you can go a little bit deeper. So it's still the same pattern of stitching. That straw is quite dry, so I'm just going to give it a bit of a... So you can see we've not got much left now. So do put in the comments if you've actually enjoyed learning about the skeps, or what you found most challenging, because everybody has different ideas of what's fun or what's easy. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is, as I finish off, I'm just going to flatten these on the stitch below. There we are. So I've just got a few more stitches left. And I can show you how to finish off with the cane, because you can see I'm going to have plenty of cane left over. So you don't want it to be too ridge, you want it to be quite flat at the top. So this is why, to shape it, you can then just press the straw down so it is a bit closer to the previous row. Oops. Another stitch. I know somebody was actually going to do this using brambles, but I would imagine they spent all weekend preparing their brambles for stitching. So although that is the more traditional thing to use, particularly in the UK, the lapping cane does make it easier, and it means you can stitch straight away. And I'm all for using local materials and traditional methods, but I think it's very easy to forget that for thousands of years humans have been trading, you know, just like we've had silk here for hundreds and hundreds of years. And although we have had our own silk mills, but there's a lot of spices and herbs and even plants. Things have been traveling around the world and traded, and this is important because we can't all provide or grow everything we need. We need to actually work together. So the lapping cane is actually from a form of rattan, which is a palm, a climbing palm that grows in Asia. And that's what rattan is. So now I'm going a bit deeper. I've got my last bits of straw. And I'm just going over where I had changed the string and the cane before. So I want to make sure that's nice and tight and secure so it doesn't get caught and undo. And it's really important that these last stitches are nice and tight, because if you do catch them, you could find your whole skep unravels. And also, because the rattan is very rigid, if you have a good row of stitches at the bottom, then it can actually give your basket or your skep a bit more rigidity. So here we are, last few bits. So you can see the stitches, you can see how thin the straw is there. Here we are, mini skep. It's very good for me to teach how to finish things, because I am not a natural finisher. I'm very much an ideas and a starter of things. And so to finish, it's great discipline for me to teach, because then it makes me finish things. Right, here we go. So I've now used up all the straw, but I'm going to carry on stitching, even though I'm not really attaching anything, but it's just giving a nice secure binding. And what this will do is, if you have it standing, if you do use it and you have it standing on anything, instead of having a big gap between each stitch, you've actually got the stitches closer together. And the rattan is very very resilient, weather resistant, probably better than the straw. So it's quite good to actually have this extra stitch. So I'm just going to use up the cane all the way around. And then when it comes to the end, so it ties in any lost bits as well. Okay. And then, so this now is my last stitch. So I come through, and then what I'm going to do is go down, and I'm going to go down to the stitch below on the whole string below, or the whole bind below. Now this can get a bit fiddly. So threading, holding it tight here, threading it through. So I'll have a bit of a kiss at the end. So I hope you can see that. And then I'm going to fold that back and tuck it in to the next stitches on that row. There we go. So it just so happened it's right above where I had another tying in, but you can see how I've done a cross. So that was my last stitch. It went back to the stitch below, tucked underneath, and then threaded through, and I can actually tuck it into 2 stitches. Excuse me. And there we go. We have, oh, excuse me, it's really cold in here, and I think with all the dust from the straw, it makes me sneeze. So I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit, and then I'll see if I can stand on it. And it's Chris Park who is quoted as saying, "A good skep you could dance a jig on." Well, this is a little one. This is really an elf's skep. But I'm hitting that really hard. You can see how strong that is. That really is strong. So here we go. This is quite a gamble because it's a stool as well. So I might just try one foot. Right, here we go. Well, that had all my weight with just one foot, which was quite dangerous given the space I've got in here. So there we go. That's how you finish your skep. And it would take my weight, even a little skep like that. So hat, nice little basket for collecting things. You could use this as a honey super on a bigger skep. So what I could do, I could have that skep and just put it on the top, and that's somewhere for the bees to pop some honey in should they want. So there we go. You've now seen all the instructions on how to make a skep for the Skep challenge. So I hope you can join me for the webinar on Wednesday, where I'll be interviewing Chris Park, the wonderful Chris Park. And I really look forward to seeing you. And then if you want to know more, join the webinar or comment here below, and I opened the course, and the course will give you lifetime access for all the instructions on how to make a skep. There'll be lots of tips, how to do windows, how to make a sun hive, you know, the differences that you need using a former, and all the written instructions as well. So it will give you plenty of support on how to make a skep. And these challenge videos, they're available free now, but they will come down after the webinar on Wednesday. So make the most of catching up while you can, while it's all here and it's all free. And then if you want to know more, then join me for my course. So hopefully I'll see you all on Wednesday on the webinar, 2 o'clock. There will be a replay as well. And then the course starts on the 24th of November. And so it's open for people to join the course from Wednesday until my birthday, which is the 23rd, and then we start on the 24th of November. So if you know of somebody who you'd like to buy the course for, then it's a great Christmas present. If you'd like to have the course and treat yourself, then obviously do. If you just want to get on the course and you can't do it now, but you can catch up with it later. So, but I will only open the doors for this 1 week for doing the course. So many thanks for joining in. Please, please, please share your pictures. I'll be looking at who's going to win the prizes. So you could even win a free place on the course, and also Skep kits. So we'll see. So please share your photos. If you don't share your photos, you can't win anything. I need to see that you've actually been completing the challenge. So best of luck. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll catch you all on Wednesday. Bye.